Now at 6, more winter weather, freezing rain in the forecast north of Houston, but we could dodge a freezing bullet here in town. Cheetah is tracking it.
And firefighters battling flames and the freeze, and now water pressure problems. The fires overnight stretching Houston's heroes to the limit.
And a health hazard we don't hear about very often in Texas. Hypothermia, the warning signs, and what to do if you are experiencing them in this cold weather.
From the KHOU 11 studios, this is H-Town Rush.
Welcome to H-Town Rush, everyone, as we deal with yet another day of this historic winter storm here in Texas. I'm Stephanie Simmons.
And I'm Xavier Walton alongside Cheetah Craft and Lauren Tallarico. And as another round of winter precipitation moves in for some, more than 1 million of you are once again waking up in the dark. And this is a look at CenterPoint's latest outage map.
You see a lot of bullets there on that. And now many of you are also dealing with water outages as well. Right now we are seeing a lot of videos just like this. Frozen pipes busting, flooding homes. Others have low water pressure or just simply none at all.
Simply a mess. I'll have some tips for how to handle all of that coming up. But first, let's talk weather and traffic, starting with Cheetah.
Hey, good morning. Well, this forecast is extremely difficult and tricky. Let me show you on our radar this morning, and I'm really going to walk you neighborhood by neighborhood. It's constantly changing because these temperatures in town and just north of are hovering near the freezing point, but just a hair above. However, as rain continues to move across the area, that will drop our temperatures. It'll be rain-cooled air, which will be cold enough below the freezing point to transition rain to freezing rain, which could lead to additional ice. Now, if you're heading north of town, take a look at 45 northbound, the Woodlands, Conroe, Willis, New Waverly. Hey, it's starting to fill right in. So we've had reports of some freezing drizzle, and now that's transitioning and picking up to some freezing rain. I-10 westbound, 290 here. Notice from Jersey Village, it's just north of that freeze line. So if you're in Jersey Village, you may be picking up a few showers. If you're just towards Cypress, that may turn into freezing rain. Do you see how close this gets? Let's zoom on into Katy this morning. So from Brookshire, you're seeing some freezing rain, but that line just north of Cinco Ranch this morning, you'll be pretty close. I'll zoom out just a little bit from Fort Bend to Wharton County. Let me zoom on in there. This line in Wharton right along 59 has kind of gone back and forth just a hair above at this point. But do you see how close that is? Now, areas south of, especially along the coastline, you're above the freezing point. I'm not expecting any additional freezing rain for you. 45 in Galveston, 37 at Hobby Airport. But notice IAH to Tomball. I mean, look how close this is to Sugar Land at 36. You get some rain-cooled air. These temperatures just dip below 32, and there you have the freezing rain and potential ice. So we have to keep our guard up today. Bottom line, north of, we could still be accumulating about 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch. Huntsville, Livingston, College Station, mainly talking to you. Rain chances drop after noon today. Then we'll be talking about even the chance through Friday morning of these below freezing temperatures. More on that stuff in a little bit. But what are the roadways looking like? I know you've kind of gone back and forth here this morning.
Oh yeah, it's been all over the place, and as that ice continues to melt, officials in different counties making the call, should we reopen the freeway intermittently? Should we just see how it goes? Well, that was the case in Sugar Land. 59 reopened in both directions there by University and in the Great Wood area as well. Now, that being said, take a look at this map behind me as we pull it up full. I'm going to show you one active crash we do have. So as people start sneaking on our tollways and our freeways as things reopen, we're seeing a couple of more incidents reported than we did this time yesterday. So this is the newest hiccup. It's a minor crash, West Park Tollway. They're still working on cleanup there going eastbound by the loop, and a conk out reported North Loop eastbound Hardy Toll Road. Left shoulder is blocked. Luckily, no main lanes are consumed at this point. Xavier.
All right, Stephanie, thank you. Well, it has been another busy night for firefighters as they battle these cold temperatures. They're throwing another big obstacle their way: low water pressure in fire hydrants. Now, that was a problem last night at this apartment fire here. This is on the west side of Houston. Our Michelle Troy now joins us live. And Michelle, that wasn't the only place where firefighters had this problem.
No, it's not, Xavier. In fact, this is just one of the many problems firefighters are facing all over the city and in our surrounding areas right now. Honestly, guys, it's a vicious cycle. It's freezing, there's no power, so folks are doing the best they can to try and stay warm, which can then lead to accidents like fires. And when fire crews arrive, they can't put it out quickly enough because there's not enough water pressure. It's what happened here at the One Orleans Place Apartments last night. This morning, you can see remnants of that fire. Here's some video, though, when the apartment building was up in flames. A resident told us she and her neighbors tried calling 911 several times, but was put on hold due to massive demand. So she ended up taking matters into her own hands and ran to a nearby fire station to get help. She says it took about 40 minutes for crews to arrive, and when they did, the low water pressure slowed them down even more. In all, about 18 units were damaged. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Meanwhile, Cypher fire crews also ran into low water pressure issues last night while responding to this house fire, started by candles left burning unattended in a bedroom. We're told Red Cross is helping both that family and the folks who lost their homes to this apartment fire last night. Some good news to end here is, guys, after being in the dark for hours, folks here finally had their power back this morning. Back to you.
All right, Michelle Troy, that is a little bit of good news, but still, when you see the water coming out of those hoses, low water pressure. Michelle Troy, thank you. And as we deal with these water pressure issues, several cities and counties are issuing boil water notices. We have an updated list on those areas on KHOU.com, along with what to do if you're under one of those advisories.
Yeah, it's a tough time for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's one hit after the other. The Great Freeze has or will become the great mess as frozen pipes thaw and flood their homes. I mean, check out some of these pictures. It tells you why. I mean, 27 degrees inside Clay Dipple's home. And then this picture shows a dog bowl frozen solid inside someone's home. And check this out from Emily Foxhall of the Cron. That's not water dripping from that faucet. That's an icicle. And that's, of course, in somebody's kitchen. So it's been a mess. And this is what happened when some of that ice thawed yesterday. Water flooding into homes from burst pipes. This could happen again through the week as the temperatures continue to go up and down. A lot of people are not dealing with freezing temperatures right now, I'm so happy to say. But if you are, or when they come back in your area, which they are expected to, this is what you can do. If you still have water, drip the taps in your home, not just one of them, but several. Also, flush the toilets often. But I want to tell you this. This is not for people who live in the city of Houston. You are asked not to do these things because the city, their system works differently and they're dealing with pressure issues, okay? Everyone, though, can still keep their pipes wrapped because we're not done with the freezing temps yet, unfortunately. If you have low water pressure or think you have a burst pipe, turn off the main water supply. This is usually under the ground in a box in your front yard near the curb, so you might have to do some digging around. And then drain the water you have left in your pipes. You can also leave a faucet running outside of your home, partially open, to relieve any pressure on them. And call a plumber, although it might take them a while to get to you. And we know this is hard, but if it happens to you, please don't call 911 unless it really is a true emergency. Our first responders are getting slammed with these calls. They need those phone lines open for any life-threatening calls. Steph?
People just haven't dealt with this before, so I think that's the only number they know to call.
Yeah, it's
All
scary.
Right. Yeah, it is scary. All right, Lauren, thank you. Well, let's get out live to Brandy in the Woodlands now. That's one of the other areas dealing with another round of freezing temperatures and rain. So, Brandy, what are the new concerns today?
Well, it's hard to believe we're even talking about this stuff, especially in Houston, Texas, but we're at the point where people need to know how to spot hypothermia.
It's definitely a concern, and it's definitely a concern with our first responders that they're dressed appropriately when they're out, especially at nighttime during these low temperatures. It's something that we're stressing. We haven't had any reports of anyone having hypothermia, but it is a concern, and it is something that we are taking very seriously.
Because so many people have been exposed to the cold for so long now, here's what you need to watch out for, okay? So in adults, symptoms of hypothermia include shivering, fumbling hands, slurred speech, exhaustion, memory loss, drowsiness, and confusion. But it doesn't just affect adults. We're talking whole families who are impacted by this. So in infants, you need to watch for bright red or cold skin, as well as low energy. If anyone in your family exhibits some of those symptoms, you really need to think about getting them to the emergency room as quickly as possible. But I want to talk about the changing conditions here in the Woodlands right now. I don't know if you can see in front of me, but definitely behind me, we're getting kind of a mix. Initially, it looked like rain coming down, but now it's kind of looking snowy. Looking at the light up there, you can see how it's kind of powdery coming down compared to normal rain. I also want to show you, Mike, if you want to pan down to this railing here, this is wet, and it's already ice because this cement, that asphalt is so cold because of the enduring cold temperatures we've had over the past several days. As soon as moisture hits it, it is icing up and freezing. So Cheetah, this is something I know you're watching really carefully, and things are starting to change over here in the Woodlands.
Brandy, that is the best example. Thank you for pointing that out. So this morning you were dry in the Woodlands. This is exactly what's playing out right now. And temperatures were actually around 33, 34. Feels like down into the 20s, but actual air temperatures were actually just above the freeze line. See, the rain has moved across the area. It has dropped our temperatures. Rain does that. It brings rain, let's say cooled air across the area, and it can drop it by several degrees, and that's what's happening. Notice 45 northbound. So here's Brandy right now, and on the surfaces it's even colder, but it's even transitioning. You saw in her live shot, just in front of that light, that's that freezing rain developing as that hits the surface over a period of time over the next several hours. That's when we're going to get a nice little coating of ice. So I'll zoom in, pink clearly illustrating on our radar this morning. That's that freezing rain. She's in the Woodlands, but from Conroe all the way north of, and that will be the biggest threat for these ice accumulations, even extending through Dallas. We have now through noon today where areas north of town will be under a big ice threat. Now Tomball at 32, 36 in Sugar Land, these are still areas that over the next couple of hours, as rain moves across the area, it could drop our temperatures, and that rain could transition to freezing rain. So as I put our future track into motion, that freeze line does gradually work northward. So the most severe concerns will be areas north of town, but don't let your guard down. Even patches of ice can be a big concern on our freeways. This morning, even though we kind of dodged a big freezing bullet in town and especially south of, you just can't rule the possibility out, especially areas west and northwest. I'll send it over to you.
All right, Cheetah, let's take a look outside now with our Houston TransStar camera. It's still dark out there, but this is the Katy Freeway. So this is right around Washington, a little further away, a couple miles away at Taylor. We did have a conk out that got taken care of very quickly. Some cars on the road going a little faster than we had hoped, but still light enough that we're not seeing any problems out there as far as accidents in the vicinity. Now let's take you to our quad cam. The no video stream boxes are actually part of the story because it's still cold enough that it is affecting how our cameras work, but you can see not the ice and not the snow we were seeing yesterday. Other things to note, Metro services also suspended today, but if you do have an emergency, Metro Lift, call them. They will schedule a ride for you.